Hello, everyone. Good evening and good morning. My name is Siddharth Singh. I am a solutions and offerings lead at HeadSpin Inc. And my job is to understand client pain points and present the best possible solution. And today I'll be walking you through the various challenges that a media company or a gaming company faces during UX texting. Over to you, Angie.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is Angie Rai. I'm a Senior Director of Sales here at HeadSpin. I've been with HeadSpin for over 3.5 years. I work primarily with our media and gaming customers, helping them get set up on the platform and helping them essentially test all of their digital experiences. So on that note, why don't we go ahead and get started? Over to you, Siddharth.
Sure. Thank you, Angie. So first, let us establish the fact that how important user experience and user experience testing is for a media or a gaming industry or a company for that matter. So let us cover some of the key elements of it. First of all, there is performance validation. It is one of the most important aspects when we talk about user experience. It directly conveys you the message that what is the user's perception of your media application or gaming application. That might ultimately lead to positive or negative reviews, user retention or user churn. Ultimately, it leads to the positive revenue or revenue losses. Okay. And it also helps you understand that is my application ready to be launched into the market, because there are n number of competitors in the market. For example, there is Netflix on the OTT side, which has a fabulous user experience, and there are others OTT apps which are not that great. Okay, so as a user, I myself prefer going to Netflix rather than anything else. Similarly, if we talk about mobile games, for example, if you talk about first person shooting games, PUBG and Call of Duty are right on top. Why? Because they perform extremely well under all possible conditions. Be it a device, it can work on Apple, iPad, iPhone, or any Android device, any network, any location. So that is why they are on the top. Then we talk about latency assessment and network resilience. Both of these slightly overlap, and they are extremely important if we talk about any media application or gaming application, because ultimately, due to latency issues, there might be delays in streamings, there might be slow response or lag, what we call in the gaming apps, which ultimately leads to users leaving your application, going to other applications. Negative user experience. Then network resilience. Your application might be very good, device would be fabulous, but there are certain issues that are caused by network issues. It can be network congestion, or it might be due to, for example, the location of the network. For example, if we talk about, for example, X network, which works very fine in a residential area, but not so good in a remote area, or not so good in a very congested place, such as a shopping mall. So you might want to understand that how my application is working. Is the music application that I'm using, for example, Spotify, is it working properly in a place like highly crowded place, such as an airport or a shopping mall? So you would want to track that as well. Now comes the scalability verification. It is also very critical to understand the scalability of your application, be it from the infrastructure or the overall app performance. Why? So I'll give you an example. What happened during COVID era? We saw a lot of social gaming apps coming into picture. For example, there was Ludo, there was Among Us, that was social gamings actually. People used to come online, play with their friends, and it was a very important part of a lot of people's life. So we want, uh, you know, perfect user experience on that front. What happened? There was a lot of surge in incoming users at the same time. For example, people used to get free at 8 p.m. Indian Standard Time, and all of us wanted to log into YouTube or a gaming app, and there was a user surge more than ever, and there was a performance degradation ultimately. So that caused a lot of trouble. Then there is regression intelligence and compatibility check. Now, For example, if we talk about PUBG again, so there are a lot of regular upgrades that happen depending on the festivals that are coming or depending on the holidays that are coming into picture. So you would want to have the perfect version of the application being rolled out to your end customers. For that, regression intelligence is of utmost importance. And not only build over build, it should be network over network, it should be location over location, device over device. You have to have a whole view of your regression analysis in one single place. Similarly, is it working with newly launched iPhone 15 that is being launched in a couple of hours? Is it working properly with iOS 17, with older version of iPhones and Android phones as well? And then comes the fault tolerance part. Is your business continuity plan or your infrastructure is capable enough to bounce back the application right where it started after an IT outage or a data center outage or failure? So that establishes the key elements of UX testing for media and gaming application. So now, like everything else, it is easier said than done. There are traditional methods to tackle these issues, and there are some tools in the market that can help you do it. But is it so? Is it easy to do that? There can be n number of issues. For example, page does not load. So YouTube is an application that we use on a day-to-day basis. Everyone must be using that. So in a typical traditional way or a traditional tool, you might be able to find out that, hey, my function of a search engine is working properly. Yes or no, pass or fail. But that is not enough for Gen Z or even for our generations as well. Because if a search engine takes more than 3 seconds, it is shown that uh, there is a possibility that user might close that app or might not return. And it is not only about YouTube, it applies to all the media applications, be it a music streaming app, be it an OTT app, or maybe a game as well. Now, this problem that we're talking about, uh, for example, buffering or preloading animations, it can be due to one of the issues. For example, due to network infrastructure, or there might be multiple devices interacting with the app. The problem lies somewhere in between. It can be due to one reason or a permutation and combination of multiple reasons. So ultimately, for a developer or a QA or a DevOps team, it is like finding a needle in the haystack. It is very difficult. And by the time they find it, they are just able to locate the problem. Then it again takes a lot of time to solve that problem, ultimately, which is leading to unoptimized application launches or delayed launches. So, for example, I'll give you a game that was Cyberpunk. It was one of the costliest games ever produced. It had Keanu Reeves as the lead in the game, and one of the most anticipated games of all time. It was so buggy at the launch. They did everything that they could, but they did not have a proper solution for all of this. It was so buggy that they had to pull it out of the market, relaunch after 1 year, and provide a 50% discount within 3 months of the relaunch and 100% discount of after 6 months of the initial launch. So just imagine the impact that it might had on the overall brand loyalty, because the gaming community is very loyal, just like Apple folks or maybe Samsung folks. So just imagine the revenue loss and the user loyalty loss. So yeah, that's about it. Yeah. So now the question arises, is there a single solution for all of this? Will that solution integrate with your existing development ecosystem or DevOps ecosystem or a testing landscape? Will it support the automation frameworks that you are already using? How do we do this? And will it be, uh, within our budget? Is it cost optimized? And will it actually help our technical teams, or will it add another layer of complexity uh, in our processes? So let's talk about some of the key elements that we should look out for. So your solution or your traditional method, for that matter, you should be able to validate the streaming quality of experience across real location and real networks. Emulators can give you certain level of confidence, maybe 60%, 65%. But if you want to be 100% sure that whatever results that I've got, whatever actions that I've, insights to action that I've got, it is close to reality, then you should go for real locations and real networks. Okay, that is how you will not compromise, on the quality of experience across various locations or various networks for that matter. We have 4G in picture, we have 5G in picture, 6G will be coming in 5 to 7 years. So there are a lot of permutation and combination that you might want to cover. Is your solution tackling the complex issue of DRM content evaluation, especially in terms of OTT channels such as Netflix? Is it covering a wide range of devices such as mobile tablets, which comes in different form factors? Is it covering all the major browsers, the OTT media devices, set-top boxes, smart TVs? Yes or no? You have to make sure that you are covering all the important aspects of it. Then we come to certain use cases, such as device-to-device interaction. A lot of games, like there is a PS app game, Xbox remote play game, or maybe YouTube for that matter. You start playing YouTube on your mobile phone, and you can cast it on your smart TV directly with a single click of a button. Is that solution able to handle that situation as well, or is it vanilla, just based on a device covering all the functionalities? That's it. No, it should cover that as well. Basically the testing of multi-device setups. Then you should be able to test all your applications on large devices as well. For example, all the smart TVs as of now, be it Sony, LG, all of them have music streaming application as well. Yesterday I was listening to Apple Music on my LG smart TV. So your application should work uniformly across all the devices. Then, like I said in the previous slide, it should optimize the process for all the teams involved, like a developer, QA, or SRE. Okay, so that you can focus on your core work rather than managing all the nitty-gritties of the new complex tool. What you can do is you can right size and right shore your teams on a low cost centers to take advantage of cost arbitrage, and you can have immediate integration with your testing landscape so that you can enable end-to-end automation. Okay, maybe you might be using Selenium or Appium. It depends on industry to industry and company to company. You should be able to use our existing landscape as is. Then the most critical part is your application should cover all the critical user journey evaluation in one single place and provide you insights to action that can be consumed by all the peoples alike in your organization, be it a developer, be it a QA, and be it a business executive. It should give you a space to collaborate with all of them in one single place. So yeah, I think there is one more slide that I would want to cover. So this was all qualitative stuff that I had mentioned. Now, what quantifies the analysis that you're doing for user experience testing? Those are critical KPIs. So there are certain solutions in the market, or you can do it via traditional methods as well. You can get certain aspects of device metrics or network metrics, but you should have a overall view in one single place in the form of a dashboard or a graph or a report that can be sent out to the people or can be accessed by all the folks alike. Okay, so it should cover device evaluation, network analysis, and app experience across locations. So, for example, if you're using a very heavy duty game in a phone, so you must be able to understand what is the battery usage, what is the battery temperature, what percent of the memory is being used, so that you can understand that, hey, this is a problem and I might want to fix it. And it should be able to give you not only the data that this is the percentage of memory utilization or the battery utilization, it should also point out that this might be a probable reason. You should be able to extract the maximum value out of that technology solution. It can have AI or ML. It totally depends on whatever the use case is. Then there are network APIs as well, network in and out bytes, network in and out packets, and ultimately app experience. Uh, how is the download speed? How does my connections look like? Is there a duplicate connection in place? How about screen change? How about the page content time? And things like that. So once you have all the three elements in one picture across locations, across real devices, you will have a comprehensive view and you can act accordingly. Okay. So I would like to hand over to Angie to walk you through a potential solution for all of your problems that I had just highlighted.
Awesome. Thanks, Siddharth. So I wanted to kind of just start by talking a little bit about the HeadSpin platform. What do we do at a high level? So essentially, HeadSpin is an omni-channel testing, analysis, and monitoring platform. What we do is we allow you to test various different, elements, whether it's the app, the device, the network, the location that you're trying to test in. The way that we do this is that essentially we have a global device infrastructure. So if you kind of look from the left-hand side here, this is our foundation of everything that we do is our device infrastructure. So we have real devices. We don't do any simulation. We don't do any emulation. We only believe in testing on real devices. And these devices that we test on are located in over 85 different locations worldwide, over 70 different countries. And the idea here is that you can access any one of these devices and run your manual or your automated test. We support all different types of automation frameworks, whether it's Appium, Selenium, or any other third-party automation framework. The idea is that anytime you run a test on one of these HeadSpin real devices, what you're going to get is you're actually going to get all of these different KPIs and metrics out of the box. So, of course, you're going to receive a screen recording of what was happening on the screen when the test was taking place. You're also going to get information on the network packets. You get some code visibility. What are the various API and CDN calls being made? How's the overall device performing? What are the device metrics? How is the audio and the video quality coming across? This is really critical to a lot of our media and gaming customers, is understanding the quality of the audio and the video. And I'll get into more details on that in the next couple of slides. But that's something that's available out of the box using our performance monitoring. The app responsiveness, right? Is there any latency? Is there any lag? Any blank screens? Blocky screens? That kind of is also identified using our AI issue cards. And then, you're going to get a lot of metrics and KPIs related to the, to the metrics related to loading animations and user experience. So how long is it taking for things to load? Why is it taking so long to load? So those are just some of the high level, examples. Essentially, we're doing all of this using our data science platform. The data science platform is the kind of the bread and butter of the HeadSpin platform. Not only do we provide you with the real devices to test on in all of these different locations on all of these different networks, but you're also going to get the AI ML analysis using our data science platform that's going to make recommendations on where you want to focus your attention when it comes to improving the user experience of your application, your website, whatever it might be that you're essentially trying to test. The other thing that I wanted to point out here is the device variability that you can, essentially tap into using HeadSpin. So of course you can test on mobile devices, whether it's Android, iOS, but you can also test on browsers, Firefox, Chrome, Safari, just to name a few. Home devices. So if you look at, Google Home, Amazon Alexa, LG Smart TVs, those are all available as well. Gaming and mobile as well, is something that's really popular. So customers are using us to test on browsers, test on mobile devices. OTT devices is a very popular use case as well. So people are testing on Android TVs, Apple TVs, Amazon Fire Sticks, Google Chromecast. All of that is essentially available to test on out of the box as well. In terms of the deployment options, you can, of course, do all of this testing on the cloud, where you essentially can log into the HeadSpin platform and start testing remotely. Some customers sometimes have a use case where they'd like to test on premise. This is really popular as well, again, for our gaming customers. If you look at, people with high security needs, maybe they have some games that are pre-release and they want to be able to, essentially be able to test before a game goes live, and hence there's a lot of, high security need. Essentially, you can do that on premise as well. So whether you have an existing lab setup, or maybe perhaps you want to be able to, scale up your on-premise lab setup, we can help you with that. And the final one I'll just kind of mention as well is a create your own lab functionality. So this is where, you might have an existing investment in devices that you've essentially, equipped your team with, and now you want to make those devices available to others. So instead of having a device located in one location and nobody else has access to it, maybe, you want that device to be available 24/7 to other team members. You can actually have a developer or a tester or whoever it is with that device in their hand, connect that device to the HeadSpin software using a USB, and essentially that device will become available using our reverse bridge technology. And essentially you can run all of these different tests and get all of these different KPIs from that device while making that device shareable by others on your team. So those are the different deployment options that you have available to you. In terms of the actual technology behind HeadSpin, I wanted to kind of just take a moment to talk about the actual hardware and the infrastructure. So the idea here is that we have two types of boxes. The first one is our HeadSpin P box. This is our standard box that we initially developed. The idea here is that mobile devices and tablets, various devices can essentially sit inside of this P box. It's password protected, temperature controlled. And then the idea is that all of the devices that are connected in the P box become available to you in the remote control UI. So you can start interacting with the device as if the device was in your hands. And then of course you can also essentially start using the HeadSpin data science platform and all of the different analysis that I mentioned in the previous slide. The other solution that we developed specifically for our media and gaming customers is actually our HeadSpin AV box. So this was developed specifically to meet the needs of our customers who want to be able to capture things like DRM content. Essentially you can't necessarily do that using the P box because you would essentially be, having a black screen show up when you're trying to capture what's happening when you're monitoring DRM content. And the idea with the AV box was that you can actually have multiple different devices interacting with one another. And so what we did is we actually developed this technology where you can have one screen that's going to be streaming the content. This could be DRM protected content. It could be any type of content really. And the other device is going to be facing it, and it's going to be capturing all of the content that's happening on the other screen and then running the HeadSpin analysis on top of it. So you're able to basically, make sure that you're not breaking any DRM laws and essentially, run the same type of analysis. So that's where the AV box comes into play. The AV box is essentially, used to do audio video testing. It's an, closed off box. There's no outside sound. There's no outside light. And that really becomes a really powerful tool when you're trying to test video streams, whether it's for media or gaming purposes. So on that note, I wanted to kind of jump into the AV platform again, because it's the most relevant here. As I said, you can do device-to-device interaction testing. Some of our customers care about doing streaming. They care about DRM content, but they also might care about things like smart assistants, smart TV testing. They care about, physical camera and microphone testing. So if you wanted to be able to see how the camera picks up certain content or how the microphone works, again, because the AV box is protected from any outside sound and outside light, it's a perfect environment to be able to test those more sensitive use cases. Like I said, the AV box is fully integrated into the HeadSpin user interface. You can run all of our APIs, you can run all of your automation, you can capture all of the different metrics and KPIs related to the performance. Again, this is really powerful because it creates kind of like a centralized device lab for all of your distributed team members. So a lot of media and gaming customers might have team members all over the world, whether they're in India or Eastern Europe or in the US or Canada, wherever it might be. You essentially can now make these devices available online for anybody to access. You don't necessarily need to have, all of these devices in all of those different locations. You can essentially have your team members sit remotely, but access these devices from a centralized location, which is HeadSpin, right? All of this is available on the HeadSpin software. And then, like I said, compatible with all of your automation frameworks. So very, very powerful from a media and gaming testing perspective. In terms of the video testing specifically, I think this is really an interesting use case. You know, a lot of times customers want to be able to quickly identify not just their app functionality, you know, how is the overall performance when it comes to logging in, searching for a certain title, you know, how long does it take for the first screen to appear, things like that. That's obviously important from a functionality perspective, but also from a video testing perspective, that's where the HeadSpin video testing data science comes into play. So here you can actually run all of your tests, like I said, on various different OTT devices, smart TVs, mobile phones, and browsers. And then, of course, you can record everything that's happening on the screen. This is really interesting and powerful when you want to be able to, you know, quickly identify bugs, quickly identify issues. You want to be able to share the video with others on your team to be able to debug it and figure out what's going on. That's where the recording becomes really interesting and powerful. But the second piece of it is our video testing metrics, right? So this is where you're going to get information on things like the video frame rate dropping, how long is it taking to load and buffer? Is there any blurriness, blockiness? Is there any issues with the brightness or the overall color of the screen, the contrast, the blur, the exposure? We also have our reference-free video MOS score. So this is something that HeadSpin has developed to be able to identify and basically give you a score related to the overall video quality. So there's actually, you know, a score that you'll get on the actual analysis, and it'll tell you overall where there's video quality issues. So you'll actually get an AI issue card that identifies areas of low video quality, and you can actually use that AI issue card to identify exactly during your test where there might have been some drops in the overall video quality. The other really cool one is the audio match analysis. So, you know, sometimes customers have a need where they want to be able to make sure that the audio quality is as gold standard as it can be. And what they do is they provide us with an audio clip that is the highest standard. And what we can do is we can actually compare and analyze the streaming audio and seeing if that's how close to the overall gold quality match is it? Is there any differentiation? Why is there differentiation? That is all included as part of the video testing and audio testing capabilities. So, you know, just to kind of summarize the overall solution for the OTT media platform, the key capabilities that, you know, I think Siddharth kind of mentioned earlier as well, you know, is regression analysis. That's another one that I haven't, you know, really gotten into, but essentially the regression analysis allows you to compare build over build, release over release, location to location, device to device. How are things progressing? How are things regressing? If there's regressions happening, you can actually plot them over, you know, over time, and you can see kind of how things look over a certain time period that you're interested in. You can actually set labels and tags as well, and, you know, kind of focus in on where you want to, you know, track. In terms of dashboards, you can set up all of your custom dashboards. You can either use our Grafana capabilities within the dashboard, or you can link up with whatever dashboards that you might be using. You can set up alerts, whether, you know, you want to set up notifications using Slack or Jira, or whatever it might be, whatever alert and notifications technology you want to be able to use, we can do that as well. Like I said, we're capturing all of the different devices related to the overall performance, whether it's CPU, memory, frame rate, but also the video, whether it's reference-free video MOS scoring, blockiness, blurriness, etc. You're going to get the visual analysis. Like I said, you're going to get the AI issue cards that are going to recognize exactly what's happening and why it's happening, whether it's low video quality, whether it's some, you know, other issues related to low page content. All of that's going to be available using the AI issue cards. And then, of course, you get the ability to test on these real devices. Again, no simulation, no emulation, only real devices with this wide range of devices in over those 80 different countries worldwide. The use cases that become really relevant here, of course, the DRM content evaluation. Because we have the AV Box technology, the DRM content evaluation becomes very seamless. You can do that from whatever location that you're interested in. Audio testing, like I said, you can use our audio match analysis and our audio testing out of the box. Application functional performance evaluation is available, the video quality of experience evaluation, and then, of course, the device-to-device interaction. Different customers have different needs when it comes to device-to-device interaction. Some of them care more about, you know, casting and streaming. Some of them care about the, you know, speaker evaluation. Some of them care more about the camera interaction. All of that you can do using our AV box. And then the other one that I really didn't spend too much time on, but I want to highlight is the peer benchmarking capability. So the idea here is that the same way that you're running a test on your platform, you can essentially run those same tests on public-facing versions of your competitors' applications or any peers that you want to look at. And the idea is that you can actually start comparing, how do we perform against certain metrics and KPIs related to our peers in the market. And that's where you can start to, again, plot that against, a certain capability that you're actually interested in. You can kind of compare over time. You can see how things are progressing. And essentially, you can work to be first in class using our peer benchmarking capability in that sense. And that's something that either we can help you with. If you need support, we have a professional services team that can help you get those automation tests set up, or even your manual tests if that's something you need help with. Or if you want to just be able to run your own tests, you can do that using the platform, again, on whatever publicly facing application that you're interested in testing from a peer benchmarking perspective. In terms of, I wanted to kind of spend some time as well in terms of talking about the gaming industry in particular. The gaming industry, of course, has a lot more specific needs when it comes to testing. I think this slide does a good job of basically highlighting how HeadSpin can be used to test your games across different variables. So, of course, there's different test management automation tools that exist. Different gaming customers are using different tools. The idea is that you can run those, on your own and essentially take those automation scripts and use those test management tools to be used in conjunction with HeadSpin, which it can become kind of like your test execution platform. So, of course, when you're running an automated test, let's say you can run it, or a manual test for that matter, you can run it on the HeadSpin remote control UI. Like I said, the device is available for you to interact with the same way that you would if you had a device in your hands. You can specify which devices you want to be able to use, which networks you want to be able to use them on, and which locations, and we will essentially set that up for you in a dedicated fashion. We also do have a public cloud option, but both options are available depending on the use case that you're interested in. You can run your automated tests. A lot of our customers are using Alt Unity. Some of them are using Appium Selenium, or some of them have custom frameworks that you can also, work with us to run on the HeadSpin devices. Of course, like I said, you have a huge device variability that you can test on using our device farm. The video and audio quality of experience metrics are going to become available to you out of the box. The AI analysis engine is going to give you those recommendations. You're going to get a lot of the in-depth performance data related to the overall performance. And then you can, like I said, essentially create your dashboards or use the Grafana capability that's available to you out of the box using HeadSpin. And then, of course, right, if you want to integrate with your CI/CD pipeline, you can use that, whatever different data generator you might be using. We're able to integrate pretty seamlessly on that front as well. Again, we can help you with that if that's something that you're interested in doing. And then, of course, from a mobile and social games perspective, I wanted to just kind of highlight some of these very common use cases that we see with our gaming customers. Mobile and social games, as Siddharth mentioned, became very popular, not just at COVID, but outside of that. But definitely during COVID, we saw a lot of mobile and social games come into play. There's a lot of different users using these devices to play their games. They might be playing on the go, whether they're on the train or they're maybe commuting back and forth from work. And some people are at home playing, some people are on the go. So the idea here is that you get instant access to these different devices. A lot of times with our gaming customers, we see that they want to be able to test on a variety of devices when it comes to high-end devices, low-end devices, medium devices, depending on where their users are. A lot of our gaming customers come to us with use cases related to testing lower-end Android devices because a lot of their customers might be out in Asia and are on maybe some older models of devices or older OS versions. That's no problem for HeadSpin. We can essentially give you instant access to those devices, that are available out of the box. Or if you have devices that you specifically want us to support, we can, of course, go and, make those available to you as well. And then again, you can capture the screenshots, you can run the recordings, you can capture the analysis related to the overall performance. And then, there's other things related to gaming, which are in-app purchases, the overall streaming quality, all of that's available too. You can kind of look at how long does it take for a purchase to complete, how long does it take for somebody to add something to the cart. All of that is available using our testing capability. The other really, popular use cases that we see with our gaming customers is a multi-deployment options. Again, AV box is really critical here. The P box, of course, is super powerful. But I think the really interesting thing here is the on-premise solution. Like I said, a lot of our gaming customers have on-premise labs, but maybe they're having a hard time managing those labs. It might be really difficult to, constantly be replacing devices when they become old or when there's issues. Being able to scale up an on-premise lab is a very difficult task. It's very time consuming. It's very cost, heavy. And so the idea here is that HeadSpin can help you set up a simple P box on premise. You can decide which, where you want to set it up, whether it's somebody's desk or whether it's an actual lab that you've set up. You can have your TV testing happening as well. And the idea is that, essentially it becomes seamless. Now all of those devices are available on the platform. You can run your analysis on it. The devices become shareable with other team members. So, really, really popular to see on-premise testing happening with our gaming customers. The other one, like I said, is the reverse bridge technology. Instead of, not making use of the existing investment of devices that you might already have, you can actually bring those devices to life and make them a lot more efficient to be used, because now you're going to be having people using them around the clock. You can have more sharing of devices. You can have more analysis on those devices. You get a lot more data. When you have a tester somewhere out in the world with a device in hand running tests on your game, you probably are going to get some detail around, this particular test failed or this one passed, but you don't get a lot of detail into why that was happening or why the overall experience was being scored poorly from that tester's perspective. So this kind of takes the guesswork out of it. It takes the bias out of it. The idea is that because you're using a HeadSpin device, or you're making that device available on HeadSpin, you're now going to get a lot more data and insights related to why that game test might have been failing and why the performance was suffering. So, that's called our reverse bridge or the create your own lab technology. And then of course, granting gaming customers the access to global devices using our cloud technology and our remote control, is probably the most popular use case that we see. And it's a very easy way to get set up. You basically log into the platform and you can either access the devices that we have available using our public cloud, or of course, we can set up a dedicated environment for you with the specific devices that you can ask for in a custom capacity. And then the last one I wanted to mention here is our desktop browser game capability. So of course, like I said, we test on all different types of browsers, whether it's Safari, Chrome, Firefox, to name a few. And the idea is that you can run your tests on those browsers using our cross-browser game testing capability. And then again, run your game testing frameworks, whether it's Alt Unity or any of the different automated tested frameworks, using our browsers as well. So again, always available to kind of talk more about this. If you're interested, please do let us know. I'm happy to set up a POC environment for those of you who might be interested in trying it out. But yeah, this is a kind of an overall summary of the HeadSpin testing platform for gaming. And to just kind of wrap it up, I wanted to take a moment to talk a little bit about the value proposition. Why do we have so many gaming customers heading to HeadSpin for their game testing experience? So number one, of course, you want to be able to do the continual improvement of your game experience, right? Games are constantly evolving. They're constantly improving in terms of the overall quality of the graphics and the overall experience. So that's where HeadSpin is really relevant, right? As devices change, as OS versions change, as networks become stronger, as games become better, you need to make sure that you're testing across all those different variables that we've spoken about today. You want to have the comprehensive compatibility testing across all of those different platforms. A lot of games are being played on different device types now, and that's really important that you have that easy access to those device types so that you can run your analysis. And then benchmarking. I talked a little bit about peer benchmarking, but you can also do benchmarking for your own game, right? To see how are you performing over time, how are things looking, is a game improving over time or not? And that's where our dashboard functionality becomes really powerful as well. Improving your time to market. Again, this is something super important for gaming customers, of course, who want to be able to make sure that as soon as they launch their new game, there's not a lot of bugs, there's not a lot of issues. The last thing you want is to have customer complaints coming in as soon as you launch. And so, pre-release testing, super popular use case with HeadSpin. During your early development phase, being able to run HeadSpin tests becomes really critical. But of course, during launch as well and post-release as well, you can use HeadSpin basically throughout the entire development cycle, and then pre-release and post-release, like I mentioned. Data-driven decision-making, I think this is a really interesting one. A lot of times teams come to us and they say, okay, we don't have the data to be able to convince the engineering team to focus their time attention on this particular issue that we're seeing. And so that's where we feel that HeadSpin becomes a very collaborative tool for all of the different teams, whether it's a product team, engineering teams, quality teams, to basically come together and look at the data and use the data to be the primary decision-making criteria. So that's where all of those KPIs that I mentioned earlier are going to become really important. You're going to be able to, identify those game crashes. You're going to be able to use that data to share with each other. And then, of course, like I said, the peer benchmarking becomes important for those customers that are really, really caring about being first in class. That's where the data is really one of the most important pieces of the puzzle. I think, reduce time and cost of testing. Of course, with automation, that becomes really possible. So that's where you want to be able to, run your automation framework seamlessly using a platform like HeadSpin. You want to be able to provide those analytics for faster troubleshooting and triaging, to be able to reduce the overall cost of testing. So I think, again, would love to help you all get set up if you're interested. That's something I think that we can definitely prove out very quickly. And then the last one is a global performance optimization. Like I talked about, gaming customers have customers in all different parts of the world. Everybody loves to play games on their mobile phones or on other devices, whether, you're in APAC or North America or South America, it doesn't matter. And the idea here is that because we have these real devices located all over the world, you're able to really get an actual idea of what a real user in a particular market that you care about is actually going to be experiencing when they use your game. I think this is something that really sets us apart from our competitors, is that, we don't do any simulation emulation. We don't believe that that gives you the real idea of what a customer sees on the ground. And so by tapping into a real device, it's basically the next best thing to having a device, in your hands out in that particular location. And again, when I talk to gaming customers, a lot of them, when they find that there's particular issues coming in from a particular market, a lot of times they're sending out their team. They're flying out their team members to go to that particular location, sit in a particular room and access a network and try to run a test and see why are these issues happening. It's a very tedious process to be able to try to replicate what a user is seeing. But when you use HeadSpin, like I said, because you're able to tap into that particular location, you don't need to fly anybody out. You don't need to necessarily be in that location. You just access the device remotely and run your test. And then, of course, network latency. The network interaction is really important here when it comes to testing games, whether it's Wi-Fi or 3G, 4G, 5G networks. Again, we support all of those different variables. And, whether there's a particular carrier that you care about, or if you just want to test on Wi-Fi regions in different regions, we can do that as well. So the real goal here, across the board with HeadSpin's gaming capability is that we want to help you create a competitive edge in the global gaming market. It's a very competitive market. There's a lot of different factors that come into play when you want to be first in class in the gaming market. And so by using a solution like HeadSpin, our goal really is to help you come out on top. So I think that kind of brings us to the end of the webinar here. I did want to take a moment to answer any questions if you have them. So I'll just give a moment here for anyone to ask any questions. Siddharth, if you don't mind, if there's any questions that pop up, would love for you to read them out, and then maybe we can take turns answering them.
Sure. So there are a few questions. Thank you for allowing us to answer the questions. First question is, does your platform support stress testing for high concurrency scenarios such as a live event streaming or game launch? So the answer would be, while HeadSpin focuses on the client side of user experience, but we integrate with tools such as JMeter, which can help you create or simulate load or stress on the server side as well. So yes, if you talk about the testing landscape, we do support stress testing by integrating with tools such as JMeter for high concurrency scenarios. Second question is, AV boxes use inbuilt camera and microphones to capture the content. How do we make sure there is no distortions in the AV content. So a good question. The AV box, it's self-explanatory. It's a box, and it provides a very isolated environment to conduct all the tests, be it different types of tests, whatever you are running on the device or the application. It does not interfere the lights and the sound distortion, etc. Nothing interferes with your testing, so please don't worry about that. Then, what are the various metrics that HeadSpin provide for one second? Yeah, what are the various metrics that HeadSpin provides for analyzing video streaming quality? So, Angie, I think we had a slide on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think,
Yeah.
I mentioned a little bit about that, but essentially, if you look at this, oh, sorry, I don't know if this is working here. Yeah. So if you look at, the metrics that HeadSpin's capturing, like I said, the blurriness, blockiness, brightness, colorfulness, the contrast, blur exposure, but also the video MOS score, which is a reference-free score that, HeadSpin has done. We've actually ran millions of tests on different video streams. And what we've done is we've come up with a quality score that tells you how's the overall video quality coming across, how's the overall video MOS score. And like I said, the audio match analysis as well is available to you if you care more about the audio side. But from a video perspective, you're going to get all of those metrics related to the frame rate. If their frame rate is dropping, loading, buffering times, you can look at the flicker, the freezing, any black screens, blank screens. So those are kind of the metrics and the issues that the video streaming capability captures.
Yep. So there's another question regarding AV and PBox. What are the different audio and video quality anomalies that can be detected? So as far as audio is concerned, we can do audio match analysis, comparison of your audio against an ideal audio stream, and audio volume and distortions across games and across media that is being played. And for video, we can detect loading animations, we can detect frame rate discrepancies, instability of render time, distorted screen, to name a few. And our RCA or issue cards will help you understand the probable reason behind it. So insights to action as well. Then we have OTT supporting and audio comparison is great. Does it provide access to gaming platform assets, for example, Unity platform, or is it strictly visual or image based? So like we said, first of all, like it was mentioned in the slide that Angie just presented, we do integrate with Alt Unity platform or framework because it is one of the key frameworks or platforms for building a game. So yes, we do integrate with it, and we can integrate and do testing side of it. Definitely. Is it strictly visual or image based? I would like to answer that we focus on the user experience from the client side of it. It covers both audio and visual aspects. Angie, would you like to add something?
Yeah, I mean, I think it kind of just, it's running your automated tests on the audio and video side. Yes, it's going to capture all of those different metrics. I think in terms of getting into the details of it, probably best if you reach out to us. Maybe we can share our contact details at the end here. I'm essentially Angie at headspin.io and Siddharth is Siddharth at headspin.io. But the idea is that, you can essentially, if you have custom needs, if you have custom frameworks that you want to be able to test, please do reach out. I think the best way to kind of, address it would be to do a POC. We can basically work together on that. So whoever asked that question would love to talk to you further, and we can kind of get into the details of it in a demo and also in a POC environment.
So thank you, Angie. There's one last question for today. How easily can HeadSpin integrate with our existing testing and game development pipelines? So like Angie is displaying. Yeah, please, Angie, please go ahead.
No, like I said, right, we basically seamlessly can integrate with your CI/CD pipelines, whether you're using GitHub, Jenkins, GitLab, right? So whatever it might be that you're using, again, please do reach out. Would love to show you a demo live. I know we don't have time for that today, but we can kind of show you an example of that, of a pipeline that's been integrated with HeadSpin. But yes, to answer that question, it's not a problem at all. It's fairly seamless to do out of the box with HeadSpin.
Yeah. There's one more question that has popped up. Good question. Did I understand correctly that you can measure CPU and memory usage for real devices? Yes, we can capture device metrics, not only CPU and memory usage, but a lot of them. And you can have in-depth performance data for your devices as well, along with the network and application, yeah, across locations. So I hope that answers your question.
Awesome.
Any more questions? Yeah, Angie, please go.
No, I was just going to say again, if anybody's, needing, you can reach out to Angie at headspin.io, and definitely would love to talk to you more. Sid, I don't know if your email is Siddharth at headspin.io, or if it's
No, yours is fine. Yours is fine. We'll connect.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. So if you have any questions, please do reach out to me directly. I would love to work with you. Like I said, we can do a POC, or we can set up a more detailed technical demo if you have any questions. But yes, thank you so much, everybody, for joining. Sid, is there any other questions, or are we good on that front?
No, we are good. We are good.
Okay, amazing. This session will be recorded. If anybody wants to, rewatch or have any questions come up later, please do reach out. But thank you, everybody, for joining. And yeah, hope to talk to you all soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Sid. Bye.